Now we're at Module 3 of Lesson 2, and this will be a short module. We're going to be just talking a little bit about Gardner's multiple intelligences. It was introduced in your Kale book, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about multiple intelligences and how it relates to the portfolio process. So this is Gardner's multiple intelligences, and as you can see, we have a wheel here that has 8 different intelligences. And Gardner built these intelligences because he was often critical, because he wanted to challenge the educational system that made an assumption that everyone can learn the same material in the same way, and that a universal, uniform measure suffice to test student learning. And he really believed, and still believes, that there are multiple ways of learning. And we do this in education and think about this a lot in education. And so he has 8 multiple intelligences. The first one we're going to start are the visual spatial learners. And you can see that way on the left with the camera, it's the green sort of part of the pie. And visual learners think in terms of physical space, very similar to architects or even sailors. They're very aware of their environments. They like to do maybe draw, or they like to do jigsaw puzzles, or read maps, daydream. They are taught through drawings, verbal and physical imagery. So those are sort of the visual spatial learners. The next are the musical learners. These are learners who learn based on music in terms of physical space, in terms of the rhythm and sound of music. They love music. They are also very sensitive to sounds in their environments. They may study better with music in the background. That's often a musical learner. Actually like to have music in the background while they're working on something or they're learning on something. And then there's bodily or kinesthetic learners. And these individuals know how to use a body effectively. They're like a dancer or a surgeon. They have a keen sense of body awareness. They like movement, making things, touching. They communicate well through body language and are taught through more physical activity or hands-on activities. The next one, then clear on the right, that's in the light green, where you see the 2 people, are the interpersonal learners. These people are people smart. They understand by and learn through interacting with others. These type of students learn through interactions, and interactions through their friends and by having empathy for others. They typically have more street smarts. They can be taught through group activities, seminars, dialogues. These are tools that they often use in learning, such as talking on the phone or audio conferencing or spending time with an instructor or video conferencing. Next are the linguistic learners, or the more verbal learners. And these learners use words effectively. These learners have highly developed auditory skills and often think in terms of words. They like reading, playing word games, making up poetries or stories. They can be taught by encouraging to say and see words. Read books together is also another way that people learn from the verbal linguistic area. Typically, these learners would probably like a book club, for instance. The next is the purple with the calculator, and that is the logical or mathematical learners. And these learners are like to reason or to calculate. They think conceptually, abstractly, and they're better to see and explore patterns and relationships. They like to do experiments, solve puzzles, ask those cosmic questions on the universe and other things like that. They can be taught through logical games, investigation, mysteries. Those type of things are the logical learners. The next one is kind of a new one, I'll be honest with you, are the naturalistic learners. And they're very similar to the kinesthetic learners. They flourish from being able to touch, feel, hold, and try practical hands-on experiences. But generally, they like to do it in the outdoor environment. They love to be with nature and animals, and they are what we like to say nature smart and understanding nature as part of their learning process. And finally are the intrapersonal learners, not interpersonal, but the intrapersonal, which you see there in gold. And these learners are more internal. They learn internally. They understand things on their own interests and goals. These learners tend to shy away from others in the interactions with others. They tend to tune in with their inner feelings and the wisdoms that they have gained from their life experiences. And then they tend to focus more on their intuition and motivation. These learning concepts from Gardner, multiple intelligences, are important. Although many have found in doing studies of these intelligences that there's not one person that relies on one. You rely on multiple ways of understanding something. And it's also better to know that these are ways of learning and that you may interact with the world in ways that you develop deeper understanding. But it's not necessarily developing a deep understanding. It takes much more to develop a really deep understanding, like what we've talked about with Bloom's taxonomy. So these intelligences are ways that you can kind of think about, well, how did I learn different ways of my work, what I learned in school, and what do I feel like are my best ways of learning? But they may not help you something to rely upon in developing a deep understanding, because that often takes time. It takes reflection. It takes reaching deeper and higher levels of learning. That's what we discussed in Bloom's taxonomy. In the forum, I would like for you to describe a process or skill that you had to learn in order to succeed in your job, school, volunteer work, or just life in general. What intelligences did you rely on the most? And what intelligences did you rely on the least? Describe also a workplace problem where you used intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligence to arrive at a solution. So think of something that doesn't necessarily have to be a workplace, but a problem where you had to use both intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligence to arrive at a solution. Well, in this lesson, I've enjoyed talking to you about learning. I've often been motivated under understanding how people learn, and it's something why I got my doctorate in higher education is to understand why people learn. And so keep these tools in mind for the rest of the course. When you start writing your autobiography and your narrative, think about how you reflected on things. Think about the ways that you learned and the intelligences that you used. If you get stuck, try some of the techniques that we described in this presentation. Go back and look at some of those words that we use to describe Bloom's taxonomy, or the reflection component you did in the first module, or even how you used intelligences in the classroom forums for this current module. Again, I cannot stress enough, you need to reflect on your experiences from this course and to write those narratives and your autobiography. And this does take time. It takes time to write those out. What level of knowledge did you attain? What intelligences did you use the most? So be thinking about those type of things and reflecting on your experiences. Well, it's been enjoyable to talk about learning and you go out and think about the ways that you learn and reflection on your experiences, and you'll do well. This session, this lesson, was really for you to develop a base. So when we go back and develop talk about the narrative and the autobiography, you can use this as sort of a base understanding of what we're trying to do with the portfolio. Thank you.